Welcome to my show. Welcome to my channel. This is the Hermetic Arts. I'm going to break some things down, break down some spiritual stuff, some stuff about ascension. I'll drop some wisdom, some stuff I know. We are going through an upgrade, DNA upgrade. We're returning back to Mother Earth and Father Sky and heaven on earth. God consciousness, Christ consciousness, all this stuff that has been transitioning since 2012. And I'll kind of put it, in a way of we've been traveling backwards through time since 2012 to clean up past timelines, to remove the fallen ones from past timelines and taking back what was hijacked during those times, and freeing the feminine and freeing the ancestors from those timelines of the sacrificed realms, the blood, the hijacking of the blood, the using of in every aspect of this realm being an abortion frequency. Everything is to fall out of the tree. Everything is just words to people until the frequency comes upon the people. Because this is what the scripture is about when they say, their hearts will fail them. It's due to the true energies that people have been walking in since, before they were born. So you look at the Native Americans and you look at the how many souls have been lost in mines in just North America alone. So then you expand that into all of the past timelines, and so within a calendar sense, coming back into 0 point energy is where we are coming back into our medicine wheel, sun cross, lotus, 4-leaf clover, wherever you want to say you're from. It's magic that is returning back to God's children and Mother Earth and within the universe. So, but we had to, the frequency, the Mayans are the timekeepers, as the frequency and as the story goes. And the Mayan time is still being kept by somebody today who was a Mayan timekeeper back then, and so it's just part of that, the DNA information of understanding. Like I have my roles of who I was in ancient history, but understanding what has taken place within the Hermetic arts, the Hermetic lab of realchemizing oneself, realchemizing the universe through the frequencies and through the God's codes of destroying the fallen ones and removing the fallen ones out of Mother Earth and out of the universe, and then putting themselves in the AI, is removing them from the temple of Judah, the temple, and all that stuff. And so this stuff has a Irish, Scottish, Gaelic, Nordic connection to Mayan times and everything like that, and just goes across the board with ancient tribes and ancient clans, as they say, lost tribes and so forth. But it is it's within the elementals, because this picture here is really within and without. This is the external calendar on Mother Earth, and the internal calendar, what this is reflecting is your lotus and your 4 corners, 4 rivers, and 4 colors, within the alchemical creation of what it is that reflects to building a rainbow that comes out of Mother Earth, because you need to have the elementals and you have to have the mercury, salt, and sulfur purification to make sure that the water is clear for the sun to shine through the inner temple, within this temple and within your inner temple that comes out of your third eye. Okay, so that's the part that people, running on this stuff. So the what did I just say? Just gonna run through some things, because the I'm gonna switch to a calendar. No, not a calendar. I'm gonna switch to a map here. And try and touch base and run through it in a quickness, because it does take a lot. If I was to break everything down, on this map. So, going back into time, before we were born, we'll start off in the Bermuda, the Blue Kachina. Everyone knows about the Blue Kachina and the Four Corners and Utah and all that stuff. People can see that stuff, but no one understands what the East Coast is. That's a huge part. The tribes, and the Mississippi, and the Northeast of America, and the Great Lakes, and everything. So you're looking at this map, and so you have the Blue Kachina that came. They destroyed China, destroyed a bunch of ships, blew them out of the water, and BP Earthwatch did a good video on that. And so this is kind of a follow-up on his information, going deeper into what was lost. So we're in the path of the Blue Kachina, and coming over the Great Lakes, and the Serpent Mound, and the Hope Well, and the mounds, and stuff like that. Okay, so you can see where it goes north into the Northeast, and they talk about Greenland and so forth, and Iceland, and and the storylines of inner Earth and so forth. Okay, the ice wall, and it's a real thing. It was the it's the egg, it's the gnosis, it's the Nordic sense, and so forth. So you get into the Nordic sense. It's a frequency thing. So it's just behind the ice wall. It's heaven. But I don't have an extension. You can probably find other maps. But this is based on America, because this is where the true promised land is. This is the promised land. This is where everybody came back to after the fall. Europe was created. The Middle East was created after the fall. They don't have, the Middle East don't have trees. So, it's just desert. So, in a sense, the Big Bang happened in the Northeast, Iceland, Greenland, all of this stuff. The split of Pangea, people talk about Atlantis and Lemuria. So you have this Akkadian line, and you can go take that name back into ancient history, Akkadian line, but underneath this Akkadian line is the Mercury that would run under the temples. You can see in Mexico, and then that's where you go up the coast here into Atlanta and Georgia in the Northeast. So they traveled over here to the Northeast, because and then the creation of Philadelphia, DC, and all this. The Akkadian line, the Blue Mountains, same stone as Stonehenge. It's like the hardened stone. It's the Blue Mountains being older than the Himalayas, the Three Indies, all this stuff. Lost timelines, stolen timelines. But the whole thing of this stuff is Blue Kachina blowing Chinese out of the water, and then what came up here in the Northeast, them coming through the Gulf of Mexico, them coming to the Caribbeans, and the pirates of the Caribbeans being the Israelites, So these ones attempted to come back to America through the Celtic, Gaelic order, Druidic orders, Rosicrucian order, Nordic, Irish, Scottish, the mystical stuff, the bloodlines, the ones who held the bloodline, of the tribe of Judah in all reality, because they were reconnecting those lost isles to this land here, because it was all once connected. So that's the thing of the migration of people coming back here and reconnecting with the lost tribes. It's a spiritual thing, but the porthole from ancient history into today spiritually is Philadelphia. And that's when people are looking at Turkey, in the biblical sense, and you look at Philadelphia, and you look in the biblical sense, and the seven churches. Philadelphia is built on a Masonic Egyptian worship, built as a temple. Everything, the art museum is built in the form of the Kabbalah, Tree of Life, and the Mason-Dixon line was a line that was being created to throw Mother Earth off balance and to manipulate the ley lines. So manipulating the ley lines, one would not be able to find the path back in through the Hyperborealis. And these entrance points, when they talk about the giants, and they talk about up and down the East Coast, all over America, all over the world, just the storyline alone, there were fallen. That's the part where the fallen ones being elementals, the invisible. They were within the spirit. They were already within the feminine. But it's like that manifestation also, within this realm of what you see today and what has happened over ancient history of destroying creation. So you have everything that is within and everything that is underneath, and these mounds, this Northeast, this Philadelphia, the Amish, the whole Northeast, and the Finger Lakes and everything like that, Northeast. The road traveled to get back into heaven on earth, or to get into heaven, across the land. You look at what they did, stealing the gold, across the land, stealing the gold in Mexico, stealing all the ancient artifacts, and then stealing all the mummies and giants, and manipulating the history and brainwashing people to not know anything spiritually. So there is a lot of stuff that is out there for people to understand, but this not this type of stuff. This type of stuff is spiritual, because there's portholes all over Mother Earth, all over Turtle Island, and the Bermuda Triangle being connected to New Zealand, the whole thing of Atlantis and Pangea, the building of Philadelphia, Mason-Dixon line, and the road traveled out east, the highlands of the Poconos, the highlands of Pennsylvania, Scotland and Ireland, and the pine trees can all the way across 40th parallel, and so forth. And so the demonic sense, the fallen sense, frequencies coming from ancient history, Egypt, biblical times. All this stuff comes through. Well, it's been stopped, and that's the part of Philadelphia, because in Philadelphia, the Pilgrims came and they ate turkey with the Indians, the Hindu Indians in India, in the America, India, where the dragons come from, home of the rainbow prophecy, where the hippies were created, where the frequency resides. See, there's only Turtle Island, but then there's a gate. There's a spiritual threshold on the land that no one can come back through, because it doesn't matter where you reside on the land. You don't understand ancient history. It's nobody's fault. It's just that the going back into time, going through all of these fallen timelines outside of America, we will say, and then coming back into America to the prophecy. Because everything is outside. Religion is outside. It's not within you. Religion is a form of indoctrination, of telling you what to think and how to believe, about a man who died 2,000 years ago. They they give you Jesus, who has no culture. He's more connected to the land than anybody, That's the thing. There's a certain path, a certain way one needs to walk on Mother Earth. So you have all of these lines, and the Akkadian line really being the threshold, because there were temples here. Temples on the threshold. There's all kinds of lost information, and we're walking on the sacrificed blood of all this stuff. But the frequencies of everything has been cleaned up. The DNA, the water, the fire, the sun, the mercury, everything, the elementals of the Hermetic arts within the Hermetic lab, it's coming through. Mercury's coming back. And these fallen ones have lost their minds. Because in true reality, there's nothing outside except for the fallen ones, fallen reality. The universe is within you. The planets are within you. It's your chakras, right? It's the Pleiadian Mayan calendar and the planets within you. You are the gnosis. You are the whiteness, the purity, projecting the rainbow. The white rabbit, right? With a bunch of rainbow eggs. Everything was just a fairy tale. But yes, our DNA is being upgraded and consciously returning home to Mother Earth and Father Sky. Can't be comprehended. Buddhaville. 3 Indies. Have a good day.